Hello, and welcome to the Astroenergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton. Hi, and welcome to the November 25th, 2021 edition of the Astroenergy Astrology Show with me, your astrologer in Orlando, Florida, Shelley Overton. I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving because that's what today is. And we're going to be going over some of the astrology of the week coming up and a little bit of what we had in the week to the past. So we're going to start out today. We've got Neptune at 20 Pisces, Jupiter at 24 Aquarius, Saturn at 8 Aquarius, opposite the moon at 12 degrees of Leo. We've got Pluto at 24 Capricorn, Venus at 17 Capricorn. Let's see, Sun is at 3 Sagittarius, Mercury at 1 Sagittarius, and the South Node is at 1 degree, also Sagittarius, which means now Mercury is exactly conjunct the South Node and within 2 degrees of the Sun. Mars is at 17 Scorpio, and Uranus is at 11 degrees Taurus Retrograde. Finally, the last entity, well, unless you count the nodes, which I wouldn't count the nodes as retrograde because they're retrograde half the time anyway. So we are still dealing with a bit of the Uranus retrograde energy, which just means we're going back over some of the technological advances that we've had, information and understanding that we've had, enlightenment. We are maybe challenging that. We are maybe going back over and wondering if what we knew to be true or what had come out when Uranus was direct is actually still true. So let's just look at when that was before Uranus went retrograde. Got to get the handy glasses out here. So Uranus retrograded in August on the 19th at 14 degrees. And that means he goes all the way to January 19th. And we'll see, we'll pull out the other ephemeris. But Uranus goes all the way to 10 degrees and 49 minutes on the 18th of January. And so once he goes back to 14, that is the final shadow period where he will help us finish off the story of the information that we have all understood to be true. And that means sometime in late April or early May. And I went through, these are all some of my markings on the new year coming up, and a lot of the conjunctions and things. So we'll have that show at the end of December. Anyway, basically Uranus is going to be direct in January, and until the end of April, we will be going over some of the issues that we have kind of touched on. And as an American who's politically interested, I do look at what's going on in our country to see how it relates to astrology, of course, because that's what you do when you're an astrologer. And a lot of the storyline around politics and the maneuvering of the parties, but also money, the recent infrastructure bill that passed the House, that is material world type of things that are structures and things that are going to be addressed. And so it is Capricornian. It is, all of the earth signs are probably included somehow because we are going to heal a system, which is Virgo. We are going to have to pay money for all the things that we do to create the new infrastructure, and that's Taurus. And then we are creating the infrastructure, which is Capricorn. So all of the earth signs have something to do with that particular bill. Uranus is definitely renegotiating what we're going to do. And because Uranus wants to bring to light the information, but while it's retrograde, it means that we have to go back over what's already happened. That bill was negotiated. That bill was a lot smaller than it had been originally attempted to be in government. As Uranus goes direct next year, there will be more information that will come to light that maybe we didn't know about. And that goes for a lot of things, including stocks that were released on the market during this retrograde period. We're going to come to a place where we understand a different list and litany of issues associated with that bill and with other things that are happening during the retrograde. So yesterday on Wednesday, the 24th, we had Mercury enter Sagittarius and the moon entered Leo. So we have a little bit of fire going on. Yes, Mars is still in Scorpio, so that adds water. And of course, Mars in Scorpio means revenge, which we will get to that later on in this podcast, because we had the verdict, which was also Scorpio, with the Rittenhouse case. And then we had the revenge, which was going to happen anyway, because Mercury at late degrees of Scorpio wants to and thinks about how to get back. And of course, we had an SUV go through the crowd in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and just mow people down all the way from one end to another. And that's going to be, we'll look into that whole event later on in this podcast a little bit. Mars and Scorpio still dealing with those vengeful thoughts, with politics, with law and judgment, which is very much a Scorpio thing. And Mars in Scorpio is opposite Uranus. So it is the unexpected, is the collective mindset. Of course, Uranus retrograde means we're going back over something. And of course, well, we'll get to that later on in the podcast. Let's not get too carried away with news right now. We've got the Mercury entering Sagittarius, education, spirituality, travel, higher understanding, real estate, starting to really seriously think, where do I want to move? Where am I going to go? South node in Sagittarius, same degree as Mercury. So, you know, we're going to be really making a significant move for our lives. Something is going to shift and change our energy that is much more than just an idea or something that happens to us or because of us. It's interesting that Mercury joins up with the South Node and they are in positive aspect to the sign of Aquarius, which means they're in positive aspect to Saturn in early Aquarius. But as Jupiter is later in Aquarius, they are approaching a square. And well, actually, if you go 8-degree orb, they are in a square. And that's interesting because Aquarius sign is in positive aspect to Sagittarius. They're both freedom lovers, and they both seek out a wisdom and understanding around people. But as Jupiter gets close to going to Pisces, the Pisces energy is a water energy squaring a fire energy of Sagittarius. Does not have a similar expression because fire and water don't tend to mix. And so Sagittarius energy is bringing in the drive. If we look at Sagittarius, it is where we want to take action and keep moving. So it is go, 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 do not stop, and just enjoy the expression and the integration of what we're bringing to us and what we're exploring. Sagittarius is a very strong explorer / adventurer. The South Node is a node of fate. It is a point in the sky where we look to the past, look at past lives, and it is an energy that brings out very significant events where our lives change and we choose different paths. So Mercury joining up with the South Node means that our mindset is very much ready for that major shift in our lives. Mercury by nature, that air energy, or Earth, depending on if you're in Gemini or Virgo, wants to understand and wants to express knowledge and wisdom, analysis. They like laundry lists. They like understanding and communicating and connecting through expression of ideas. And in Sagittarius, Sagittarius is also a seeker, but Sagittarius wants to keep moving and keep the action. Sagittarius brings us that higher wisdom and seeking. And so as Jupiter is the ruling planet of Sagittarius, as he gets further and further away from comfortable energy in Aquarius, we start to feel more sentimental. As he gets into the last degrees of Aquarius, we are wrapping up how we think in a specific mindset, move towards something that might be a little bit deeper, more emotional, more ingrained in our sentimentality, possibly something from the past, as Aquarius tends to be more of a new energy sign. We bring in a lot of new thinking, and we clear out old ways, old kind of overused, outworn ideas, and we bring in new, I want to say, effervescent energy, which is kind of bubbling and sparkling. And, if you think of little bubbles filled with air that pop, 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 that's Aquarius to me. One of the means of expression of Aquarius. And Pisces is much more immersed in the water, immersed in the liquid. And as Jupiter gets closer to that energy at the end of the year, we are going to feel maybe more bogged down, more concerned about money, because water signs, especially Neptune and Pisces energy, are about the influence of water. And in feng shui, water element is assigned to money and bringing in money. So you want good flow of money, good flow of water in your home. And so as Jupiter moves from air to water, he is starting to pick up some of this watery emotionalism, maybe the sentimentality of the past. And so we can see that. And that's kind of directly squaring the Sagittarian need for keeping it light, keeping it on fire and moving forward and burning up the ideas, burning up the energy through physical force or physical expression. In a practical sense, Mercury in Sagittarius is going to give us the expression more through our bodies, through our physical actions. And so when we have our mental energies filtered through the Sagittarius sign, it means that we're less interested in going back over and talking about things as much as taking action and just expressing what we know through the physical world, through moving energy, moving our bodies, moving our muscles. And then the South Node, of course, will always influence us to make major changes that affect us as if we don't have a say, as if it's something that we have to do. And then Sun is our ego, our sense of self. So when we have Sun in Sagittarius, we are wanting to express in a way that doesn't bog us down with the energy of Scorpio, which is, watery, emotional, and sentimental, immersed and passionate. We want to just keep it light, keep it fresh, keep it optimistic, and keep it entertaining. So we, in ourselves, in our expression of self, are more inclined to want to just keep things light as long as Sun is in Sagittarius. Wherever that planet or the planets in Sagittarius fall in your chart, it adds this energy of expression through the physical, of taking hikes and going for walks, riding a bicycle, riding a horse, because horse is the centaur energy and part associated with Sagittarius. So I've been thinking a lot lately about horseback riding, and it's something that I loved from my childhood and never do as an adult. And I'm like, why don't I do that? I don't have to necessarily have a friend to go horseback riding. I just need to go to a stables and, go horseback riding. So I have been thinking about doing that kind of thing. So if you have been thinking about it, part of that is the Sagittarius energy coming in. Venus at 17 Capricorn, she is in inconjunct to the moon on Thanksgiving. So Venus in Capricorn means there is a woman figure, sister, mother, friend, coworker, who is very restricted in tradition, wanting to do the responsible thing, bring responsibility to the event. And so that it's going to be more traditional fare. I know in my world, definitely we're going to have the traditional food, but of course I am non-traditional because I'm a vegan. So everything that's coming in, it was a very nice gesture of my sister to purchase Thanksgiving dinner for my family. But from a restaurant, it's very, you have mashed potatoes, gravy, cranberry, and turkey. And I don't eat turkey. So I've come up with an alternative. And that's the Saturn and Aquarius energy. But Venus is the feminine expression right now. And she needs to have the structure. She needs the tradition, and she needs reliability. So she will bring that into the picture. So whoever represents the feminine energy in your world, you're going to have that coming out for Thanksgiving. That being said, the mother figure is Leonine, or under the auspices of Leo. And that is the expression of connectedness one-to-one. And what Leo needs more than anything is validation that they matter to people. So appreciation is key for Thanksgiving. And ironically, of course, it's Thanksgiving. We show appreciation, we show gratitude. But Leo is mom. So mom really needs it on Thanksgiving. Show that expression of appreciation. It's going to be probably hard for me because that planet at 12 degrees Leo directly squares my 12 degrees Scorpio moon. So I will pull everything from my being to bury hatchets and be a good daughter. The Capricorn Venus is a very good daughter, the dutiful daughter. So we'll see that. And then Pluto at 24, which means that Venus is on her way to join up with Pluto, which is a watershed moment, which is a very intense, passionate energy, restricted and brought in by the walls of structure from Capricorn. Yet, because Pluto now is answering to Saturn in Aquarius, there can be left turns, unexpected left turns with that relationship. So as Venus approaches Pluto, look for the passion, look for the emotion, look for probably some resentment built up, because Capricorn tends to take ownership beyond what is their duty and then ends up resenting other people for how much responsibility they have taken. If that reflects on you, if you feel a connectedness to that storyline, that's that Capricorn Pluto, or Venus approaching Capricorn Pluto. And like I've said many, many times, and I hit it again and again to drive this point home, Pluto in late Capricorn means that these psychological issues are coming up because Pluto rules Scorpio. It is about the hidden psychological motivations. They are coming out very strongly as we get towards the end degrees and push closer into that Aquarian energy. With Capricorn now answering to Saturn in Aquarius, we are going to feel this very strong need to not be told what to do and to not have as many responsibilities, because Aquarius wants freedom. So Venus, she doesn't even get to Aquarius for a few weeks. Let's look at when she goes in. She goes in, actually, she doesn't for a long time. I forgot. She actually stays in Capricorn for a good long time because she retrogrades before she actually gets out. She's retrograde in the late degrees, mid-20s of Capricorn. And she retrogrades all through January, December and January. And then she doesn't even get to Aquarius until March. So March 6th. Long time of Venus and Capricorn. And really what that means is, chills, what I've said, she's coming to terms with the old structures and the way of doing things. And because the specific area that she retrogrades over is the degree of Pluto and the last degrees of the sign, it is the woman's expression within the structure, within the system. How do women fit? Where is their authority? Because Capricorn is career, Capricorn is life purpose, and Capricorn is paternalism. And so now you've got Venus and Pluto, which Pluto again rules a very feminine sign of Scorpio. And Venus is the goddess of love and beauty. And she is the materialism of the world. So as Venus gets closer to Scorpio, we look at our motivations through money. We look at our motivations of beauty. What do we define as the ultimate woman? Capricorn physically is a little bit more angular and tall. It rules the skeletal structure. And it is also a cooling off energy, which can lead to, in my opinion, the angularity, because we are withholding. It is a withholding energy. And so we may not be treating ourselves as well, but as Venus gets to Pluto, it is a watershed moment of understanding what we need to nurture ourselves. And really, because of the end degrees, we're letting go of those old storylines around, I need to be the dutiful daughter. I need to be the perfect partner for my husband or spouse. I need to be the perfect employee. I need to be the responsible boss. I need to teach and do the tasks, and everyone can rely on me. I've got so many chills coming in over the last, literally everything I just said, I've had building chills. So it really, really is around women putting aside the old role that they had as the responsible, dutiful person in the lives of others. And it's almost as if we can no longer go in this direction and only take care of others for our sense of self-esteem. And as Venus gets to Pluto, she's basically looking in the mirror face to face with her own demons about value. Because remember, Pluto rules value to others. So what are my values to the other people I interact with? And do they really see the true me and what I can bring to a situation, which may mean you aren't necessarily being seen for everything you can do, or you're being expected to do X, and Y, and Z, and you're not seen beyond those material world tasks. And I find this to be true with Capricorn, is Capricorn really is very literal. So they don't necessarily extrapolate out other ideas around a situation because they're so good at systematizing things. They can see it in a very cut and dry material way. But that's something that we have to really look at with the changes coming. And because Venus she doesn't retrograde every year, but when she is retrograde, which is this coming month, we are seeing her directly connected to the idea of digging deeper into the psyche and the therapy. So you may feel like you want to go to therapy. You may feel like you have to purge old ideas, which is very strong blending of these two energies. And then Pluto with Venus there, Pluto is softened a little bit by the Venusian energy. And even though Pluto represents a feminine energy of Scorpio, and emotional, like truly engaged with the emotions on a very deep life level, so much so that you can take on the problems of other people. And Pluto is a planet that's really, really good at getting to the heart of what's wrong and finding the solution. So Venus really dancing with that Pluto energy over the next 2 months is going to get to the heart of the issue. And we're all going to be a part of this. So it affects you in your world. It affects your female friends and the influences in you. If you're a man, it affects your feminine side, your desires, and how you want to necessarily treat women, or even how you treat yourself in a nurturing, intuitive way, because that's the realm of the feminine side of life, which is assigned to Venus. So we've also got Saturn opposing the moon on Thanksgiving. So that's going to be an interesting energy around Thanksgiving. Saturn in Aquarius means, of course, like I said, I'm vegan. My lifestyle doesn't necessarily fit into the traditional roles, but because Venus in Capricorn is there, she's expecting that. But she's going to get the unexpected. And that's what Aquarian planets will do. Jupiter at 24 is in inconjunct to Pluto in Capricorn. So this is kind of an aspect that I don't touch on a great deal. The inconjuncts of 150, which if you take a circle and you split it in half, you get 180 on both sides. And inconjunct in the smaller sense is the difference between 150 and 180, which is 30 degrees. The other inconjunct, which is a term I prefer over quincunx, you've got that 150, but the inconjunct degrees of the 30 degree aspect and then the 150 degree inconjunct complete the 180 degrees. So they both have significant influences, but I think that there is a little lesser influence of negativity through the inconjunct of 30 degrees, because I personally believe in the gradient energy with adjacent signs. So as we have discussed before, when you have two signs together, one sign has this very clear energy of, this is my realm. And then you have the next one, which says, I don't like that realm. I've experienced it. Now I'm going to do this realm. And they are very dissimilar, honestly, but they are next to each other. So one flows into the next. no matter which sign it is. If they're next to each other, one flows into the next. So there is an overlapping of gradient. And I know they are the cusp area. There is a cusp, okay? I've heard astrologers say, there isn't a cusp, it doesn't exist somehow. In other words, you are one sign or you're another. This is true. Your sun falls at 29 degrees and 59 minutes, and then it falls at 0 degrees, 0 minutes. So you are one or the other. But because it goes very fluidly around the sun, it doesn't just stop dead and halt and say, oh, I can't go there because that's a new sign. It goes and flows into the next sign. And I think that's how the energies are in astrology when you look at late degrees of one sign, early degrees of another. So as Jupiter is in Aquarius, he's looking to Pisces. As Pluto is in Capricorn, he's looking to Aquarius. And so we do have a certain amount of integration of the next sign. So yes, it is not a definite, there's a break and you can't be like each other. I think there is an overlap of energy. And so the inconjunct of 30 degrees to me is more coordinating and accepting. Cooperative, I guess is probably a better word, cooperative and accepting, even though you're really seeing kind of like Aquarius energy poking at the Capricorn energy because they are so dissimilar. And you will see that Aquarius, of course, air energy, breathing, thinking, exploring the mind. Pisces integrates and brings in everything, including Aquarius. She is an integrator. She wants to let everybody see how we are all like each other. So I guess probably more specifically Pisces energy than any other sign is really embracing of the signs on either side of her because she understands the process that the zodiac gives us. It is a gradient transition from sign to sign where we learn this, then we learn that, then we learn. It's a process. It goes through. And Pisces encompasses every sign of the zodiac, and she is very well versed in every sign because when you have planets in Pisces, you've been through all the other signs of the zodiac. Your story of history throughout time, throughout soul history, is that you've experienced all the other signs. You are the last sign before you're reborn into Aries again. And so it's the completion of a cycle. Jupiter looking to Pisces, right now he is trying to understand the storyline of Aquarius. So wherever Jupiter in Aquarius falls in your chart, it is the culmination of a storyline around community, around understanding other people in the community and other people associated with your life purpose, how to network. Aquarius rules the internet. He rules alternative lifestyles. So LGBTQ, he rules the unusual, the unexpected, the quantum thinking, things that come through your life and go in and out in ways that you don't understand in a linear society. So he is extremely expansive. And I've talked a lot about Aquarius in this podcast. All my podcasts have something, but Aquarius seems to be quite a big topic for me because I have a lot of that energy in my chart, but also because we haven't really experienced the full immersion of this energy other than when Neptune and Uranus were there in the late 90s. So of course, the late, I guess, Gen Z children, the ones before the turn of the millennium, no, they're millennials. I keep forgetting that they're millennials because to me, millennials are the ones born on the millennium and not the ones before. So I guess millennials, but yeah, that's not what I would name them, but that's the name. Anyway, millennials have that understanding because of the Uranus-Neptune conjunction in Aquarius. But now we have Neptune in Pisces, and Uranus has moved on through Aries and Taurus. So we are currently with Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius and soon to be Pluto, which will last a very long time. And that means we are in the age of Aquarius at that time. Okay, I think I've talked all I want to talk about for the aspects that we're feeling. Let me just do my usual end of podcast run over what's going on the rest of the week, and then we'll get into a little bit of astrology with the chart for Waukesha. Okay, so Sunday is going to be combust with Mercury and Sun joining up at 11:39 p.m. Eastern. And so that can be fires. Mercury always is, to me, phenomena of the material world. And so having Mercury expressing in the material world through the sign of fire energy, Sagittarius, it is travel, foreigners expressing this energy, and fires and flames. So accidents around fires, accidents around travel, accidents around miscommunications in taking action too soon, that kind of thing. There could be something going on with musicians and teachers, educators, and spiritual gurus. Gonna just throw that out there. Okay, and that happens on Sunday. Oh, Friday, I've got down ability to change for the better, use of humanitarianism and that type of mindset on Friday, which I think goes really well with Thanksgiving and helping others out. Monday the 29th, the moon enters Libra. We've got Mars trining Neptune. So Mars in Scorpio, Neptune, this is going to be probably an emotional, sentimental day on Monday. It is the 29th, which days of the month, 2-9 is 11, and 29th is the end of the numbers in a month, and we only have the 30th after that. So generally the 29th, 30th, 31st days of the month tend to be those where we're wrapping up. We can see more accidents. We can see more influences of a storyline that are endings. And then because we have Mars, which is taking action in Scorpio, which is death and rebirth, and then Neptune and Pisces, we're getting that energy coming through. And then it's 9-10, which I find very interesting and a little bit ominous for me because my birthday is 9-10, but 9-10 a.m. is when Mars and Neptune trine. Sextiles throughout the day with Moon and Sun, Mercury and Moon, and there's an opposition of Chiron to the Moon in Libra and Venus. So something is difficult with masculine energy and balancing and diplomacy. So maybe that's, I don't know when this man from Waukesha is going to get arraigned, but something may happen on that day. Moon and Saturn are trine, and then Mercury sextiles Saturn on Monday. So I did want to mention, this is something that I thought about the other day, but I want to mention there is a void of course moon on Friday, which is Black Friday, and that starts at 8:24 a.m. Pacific, 11:24 a.m. Eastern, and doesn't actually end until 9:12 p.m. at night. So it is Black Friday purchasing if you are going to buy things. I found this to be true when I've bought things in the past when I didn't want to buy them on a void of course moon. They end up not getting used, so just pay attention to that. And then Monday is Cyber Monday, and of course the moon is in an air sign, which rules technology. It's going to be a better day for buying goods associated with technology and software, computers, phones, etc. So I would say Monday is the day to put off any of that kind of purchase. It is also vigilantism with Mars and Neptune, and it's funny, well, it's not funny, it's kind of ugly that I did mention that last week or the week before when we see Mercury in the last degrees of Scorpio and then Mars in Scorpio. That is vigilantism and revenge. And I had this written down. I'll show you. This was written down for a while, vigilantism. That's basically what happened with Waukesha. And I think we all knew it. I watched it kind of develop because I was watching Agenda Free TV, which is a YouTube channel. This man, he has his own YouTube channel that brings in news stories that are current, like happening right on the spot. And he has police scanners and he watches many, many different news channels and outlets and talks about what's going on from a non-judgmental point of view, just gives the information, which is really awesome. And he was on right when the whole Waukesha thing was just coming out, which was about 5:30, an hour after, or maybe it was actually right as it was happening because I was watching it between 5:30 and 6 and it happened in Central Time. So I think it was just happening when he was on, and I was able to get the information right away. But yeah, that whole thing was basically vigilantism. I saw the truck or the SUV was going through, and you heard gunshots, and he showed that little snippet, and they were in the chat room talking about, oh, well, the SUV guy was probably firing. And I'm thinking, no, it's not, because obviously you have all these officers controlling traffic, and they're right there when it happened. So they're probably going to try and stop him as he speeds off with all these people down. And the sound of the gunshots stayed in the air. You could hear them very loudly as the vehicle disappeared. So I knew it was being fired on. It wasn't him firing. But that moment was, unfortunately, I knew that was revenge for the Rittenhouse verdict, because it was quite obvious what was going on. Like, why else would somebody try and mow everybody down other than a statement of angst and frustration? And that is not an excuse. That is not okay to do that. But it is something that I think about, because we have so many times seen this aggression and this violence come out in our society. And I'm going to probably proselytize a little bit, or get on my soapbox. But you have people saying, it's okay to behave in one way and take the law into your own hands, which is, kind of what judges do. But there are prescribed ways of behaving as a judge that is balanced and fair, which the Rittenhouse judge was absolutely not behaving in that manner. And I see that whole event as absolutely off kilter for justice. And so, of course, there was going to be a balancing, opposing point of view. And with the planets the way they are, Mars and Scorpio, Mars is taking the action. It's in an emotional, I've got a life wounding kind of energy. So as an astrologer, I understand a motivation, because that's what I do. It's the job I have. I look in a chart and I'm going, well, there's your motivation. Whenever I see events occur that pique my interest, I will look up the chart and see, well, what was the motivation for that? And this chart was motivated by revenge in some instance, but it was also motivated by that feeling of frustration. There was, I'm looking at the chart now, at the time it was 4:29 p.m. and that was in Waukesha, Wisconsin. So it was a Gemini rising, about 7 degrees Gemini rising. The moon was at 27, again, a late degree in the first house. So the expression, putting something out there, having an idea, having a dogma or mindset, late degrees, moon, emotional, home, family, like this is my area. And he lived in the town. They tracked him down within a few blocks of where the whole event happened. So it was his home. He felt he had to express himself. And this is not, again, this is not a justification of what he did by any stretch. It is an understanding. It is a dissecting of the motivation, of the mental mindset, of the emotional mindset, and why, how could someone do something like that? Keep in mind also, Gemini rules transportation, and the moon at 27 Gemini, he used a vehicle to do what he did. He was expressing himself through the Gemini modality of vehicles, because it rules transportation. Jupiter up there in the 10th house. So Jupiter is also transitions and transformation in a trine. And remember what I said about trines, things come out that are not necessarily pleasant. So I don't see a trine as a particularly positive aspect in my world, in my astrology. I see trines as very much difficult, that they can trigger break points. They can trigger events that wake us out of our complacency. And so Jupiter was at 24 Aquarius, trining the moon at 27. It was kind of ripe to happen, so to speak. I think we all kind of knew that when we heard the verdict come down. It's like, yeah, that people are not going to just sit and take that, and frustration will ensue, and expression of anger will ensue because of Mars in Scorpio, which was within 3 degrees of a direct opposition to Uranus, the sign of the people. And Uranus was in Taurus at 12 degrees in the 12th house in Waukesha at that moment. So the inflammation of thought, so to speak, the ideas deep in that Piscean house of the subconscious. I have to do something. I have to enlighten people. And how do I express my emotions? They're overwhelming. They're not being able to come out because Uranus retrograde. And we've got Saturn, early degrees of Aquarius, squaring that Uranus energy in Taurus. And so Saturn in Aquarius, again, at the midheaven within, looks like 2 degrees. Yeah, 2 degrees of the midheaven. Saturn was 8 degrees Aquarius. Midheaven was 10 degrees of Aquarius. And so it is a material world, physical expression of the anger. Remember, Saturn's in the Sagittarius house of needing to do something. I need to create a logical mindset in the physical world and a system that makes sense to me, but in a way that is not the norm. It is the norm potentially to go through the justice system. But this man didn't go through the justice system because he didn't trust the justice system anymore. Pluto in the 8th house of justice, 24 degrees, of course, in negative aspect to the approaching Neptune, inconjunct to the moon itself in Gemini. So the expressions, the deep psychological expressions were death. We're like expressing out, well, Pluto is representative of death and rebirth. And then Venus in the, Pluto's in the 9th house of taking the action, but also Pluto being the subconscious. And then Venus at 14 degrees Capricorn in the house of death. So girls, I'm going to assume, I haven't heard, but I know 5 people are dead at this point. And I know that they hit the grannies, the dancing grannies or something like that. They hit the dance troupe, which was mostly young females. So those are the ones that were basically sacrificed to this ideology. And then we have Neptune in the house of community, deep emotional sentimentality, the ending of life. There was a trine at that time between Neptune and Mars. So the aggressive action taken through revenge in Scorpio, in trine to Neptune, again, what we haven't seen or what we haven't expressed coming out to slap us in the face. Again, those trines, I'm telling you, trines are a very difficult aspect, 120 degrees. It's almost as if the inconjuncts, they can also have a certain fractious nature, but the trines are almost as if we physically see, we physically experience, we emotionally experience. It's like it culminates under the trines for me, what I've seen. And the sun on that day and time was at 29 degrees and looks like 55 minutes of Scorpio. So again, endings, a lot, 25 Mercury in Scorpio, 29 Sun in Scorpio, 27 Gemini moon, 24 Jupiter, and Pluto at 24. So there are a lot of significant 24, 25, 27, 28 degree planets looking to shift energy on that day and transmute it, which is really kind of what the North and South Node do. The South Node is what we bring in. The North Node is the transmutation of that energy and releasing of the energy. Okay, I'm sorry to interject this whole Waukesha thing right in the middle of this podcast. I'll try and put a timestamp down below. I won't try. I will put a timestamp for this down below. And then I'm going to finish the second half of the week, which I didn't get to because I kind of stopped at Tuesday. But Tuesday the 30th is Pluto in a void course. It squares Pluto, the moon squares Pluto and is void of course. And that is later in the evening at 11:20 p.m. Eastern and 8:20 p.m. Pacific. And then that would make it about 4 o'clock, 4:20 a.m. Yeah, 4:20 a.m. GMT. So we've got Venus sextile to Neptune in the middle of the afternoon Eastern on Tuesday. So it's growth of independence and it's good for business and organizations. And honestly, it's a day of yes, overall. Then Wednesday, we've got loving coming back because we've got Moon entering Scorpio, but Neptune goes direct. I didn't realize Neptune was still retrograde, but I guess it was. I don't know why I thought it was already direct. We've been in the time just before Neptune going direct, which means also the end of this week before next week, we've got that energy feeling like Neptune's going direct, which means it is a more loving, embracing time. Neptune retrograde acts a bit more like Virgo and much more aware of true motivations of people, while Neptune direct is much more capable of accepting people at face value and showing universal love, unconditional love to people. So that energy is actually kind of welcome, but it means that we are also immersed in that Neptune and Pisces energy as of, I would say, probably Thanksgiving and going into next week. We're going to be a little bit more or a lot more forgiving after Neptune goes direct, but probably building up to that until then. It's bad for growing things, and I think that's because of the square with the Moon to Saturn and the opposition of Moon in Scorpio to Uranus and Taurus later on in the day. Tuesday is some trine energy with the Moon and Neptune in the middle of the afternoon, about 4 o'clock Eastern, and that's going to be really deep. Again, Scorpio Moon is kind of the vengeful energy, and it is with women, with mothers, home, and family. Neptune and Pisces is old storylines, old emotional, psychological issues being triggering. And so look to the past to be a trigger on Wednesday. And then Moon in Scorpio all through Thursday. Scorpio Moon joins up with Mars at 7:45 p.m. And then the Moon in Scorpio is sextile in the evening to Pluto and Capricorn. So in other words, later in the evening on Thursday of next week, the 2nd, we're going to have some of the energies more cooperative for making the dreams come true and more able to take ownership and responsibility for how we express our dream and what our value is to other people, and able to say, no, this is what I'm worth, and then make that material world match what your view of yourself is. So you are able to get on board with a more valuable sense of self for starting next Thursday. Solar eclipse, because a new moon on Friday the 3rd, it's at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. Overnight, actually, it is from 11:43 p.m. Pacific until 1:35. How is that possible? Oh, okay, I'm looking at the wrong one. 2:43 a.m. Moon, sun in Eastern time zone on Saturday the 4th. We will talk about that coming up next week. I itch on my nose. Yeah, we're going to talk about the solar eclipse of the new moon and Sagittarius. So education, lots of twists and turns. The nodes are getting ready to leave that energy. So we're going to see kind of a wrapping up of a story around our education pathway. And that absolutely aligns with my son and what he's doing. I'll probably talk about it next week. But anyway, have a great Thanksgiving. Breathe, go into another room, go for a walk. Don't get too tired from all that tryptophan in your turkey. And I want to say thank you for joining in to my podcast. Please do share it. We are going to be exploring some other chart options. I've got a friend that I do a podcast with, every month or two. And we're going to talk about some interesting stuff as soon as we get that podcast taken care of. I couldn't do it today, but it'll be soon. So I'll let you know what it is. It's about Rocky Horror Picture Show. And we're going to dissect the actors in that and the movie itself with this chart. And it should be a lot of fun with my friend Hansy. So anyway, take care. Have a great Thanksgiving. And we'll see you here next week. Bye. The heck? Oh, sorry. Someone's vacuuming in the other room. So anyway, yeah, I've beat that point to death. So anyway, okay, my glasses. What are you doing? There's gonna be a lot of editing on this.
Hi, this is Shelley. Thank you for joining us this week. To contact me for a private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com, including discounts. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at Astro Energy Astrology Show.